Hello po mga kaagapay.
Good afternoon, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat and welcome no, to our Thursday usual stream. Good afternoon, Sir Jambi.
Good afternoon, Sir Franco. Malakas ba ako? Naririnig ba ako?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you just fine. No? Very, very clear actually. Okay, so teachers, magandang hapon po and welcome to our Thursday stream. No? At today, no, as just usual, is syempre very special pa rin. No? Hindi naman, lahat naman ng session natin ngayon, very special. No? Hindi naman sa pagmamayabang talaga. Anyway, teachers, good afternoon, and we hope that you're doing fine. It's we're past midweek, okay? So congratulations for another almost okay, a week done. Okay, so to begin, no, our session, okay. Maybe by the way, no, before we do the greetings, may we ask everyone or may we ask you, no, sa ating mga live audience ngayon to share our link so that we can invite more educators into our stream because again, no,
Yes, yes please.
napakaganda nung topic natin para sa araw na ito, no. Okay, yan. Okay, so let's start greeting our teachers, okay, from our live chat. Okay, please put your names kung hindi po names yung gamit natin or uh, ano, no, location or school okay, para po mabati namin kayo. Ano. Okay, so let's start with, of course, our usual, always here, no, na kasama sa kaagapay. Hindi lang po. Okay, yan. Si Teacher Edna Despi. Okay, good afternoon. Teacher Leocel Villantes. Teacher Rosemalin Rosel. Okay, Teacher Ludmila Gutu. Teacher Roland Reyes. Good afternoon. Teacher Regina Rose Regidor. Teacher Juela Giriba. Teacher Vilma Buladas. Good afternoon. Teacher Ronali Mejos. Project Yakap. Okay, sarap na, no? Parang maganda tong project na to. Sana all no mayakap ng Project
Pero
Yakap. And of course, good afternoon, Teacher Alex Javier Alvarez, okay, Teacher Romel Rosita, Teacher Reese Rain, okay, Teacher Hitish Kumar Sharma, good afternoon, always here also, no? Teacher Hitish, Teacher Reyes Dolly Ann, okay, Teacher Renz Gabriel Alimoon, and Teacher Gladys Cannon, and I'll stop, no, my greetings with Teacher Jim Ruar from Luwak, Pangasinan, SDO Pangasinan 2. Okay? Stay safe daw
ah,
po sa ating lahat.
maraming salamat, Teacher Jim. Tutuloy ko naman po ang mga pagbati natin. Umpisahan ko kay Teacher Nenita Ramos, Teacher Merita Domingo, Hazel Ann Kim, ayan, si Pastor Manny Garcia, of course, watching from Imo City, Cavite, Teacher Carrie Dominic Abehuro, ayan, si Teacher May Baisa Versosa, very active ngayon si ano, no? Si Teacher May, nakikita ko palagi yung mga posts niya. So, ayan. Naging speaker na ba natin si Teacher May, ano, Sir Franco?
Parang malapit na. Oo.
Malapit.
Congratulations. Yes, congratulations sa mga wakelet events ni Teacher May.
Correct. Pagpatuloy natin, binabati din natin si Teacher Regine Fenel Torres, Teacher Mira S. Ramos, Teacher Annie Rose Rojas, ayan, of course, si Teacher Manolita White, ayan, always present and always very generous with her insights sa ating comment section. Teacher Carrie Dominic Abehuro, ayan, binati na ni Sir Franco kanina. Teacher Russell Mendoza, Teacher Minerva Amores, Teacher Elizabeth Calupe, Teacher Raquel Manawis, Teacher Cristina Antonio, Teacher Vilma Boladas, Jereza Caballes, Shannon Joy Valdez, Vilma Buladas, Cecil Espiritu, Jelly Rose Saludo, ayan. And perhaps we can end with Teacher Jomar Carpena. Binabati din natin yung S-Educate from Brokenshire College daw. And
And
ayan.
of course, let's continue with Teacher Ricky Staco Redelias, okay, Teacher Aljon Vergara, okay, Teacher Dean Theodosio, okay, Teacher Edwin Gallardo, and Teacher Ernest, okay, Filipino no lectures, okay, Teacher Angel Cruz, Teacher Ricky Staco Redelias, of course, Sir Joseph Hermetanio, okay, Teacher Regina Regidor, mention na kanina, Teacher Ana Andres, A Hopeful Talks. Okay, yeah, ganda. Parang
Wow,
ganda ng channel ni Teacher. Okay, very
correct.
positive. Teacher
Partner sila
Julius.
ni Project Yakap.
Yes, oo. And the rest, I think na-greet na natin, 'no. So again, magandang hapon, good afternoon to everyone, 'no, and welcome to our session, okay, for today. Okay, so for today, I don't know, we'll be talking about still part of our November series. Okay? And for this part, we'll be talking about impactful technology use and models of technology integration. Okay, so Sir Jambi, no, this is not something that is I don't know something new, no, to our teachers. No, this is actually very familiar I don't know field, okay, for our teachers, especially during the pandemic na madami, okay, madami naman talaga tayo ng ginawa ano, at we've come a long way in terms of technology integration. Ikaw Sir Jambi, gusto kitang tanungin, okey, gaano kalaki yung difference nung, teaching ano mo before the pandemic and now during the pandemic?
Ako, well, hindi ko masabi na one is better than the other, pero I'm sure everyone would agree na very different. 'Di ba may mga nagagawa ka sa online setup na hindi mo nagagawa dati sa face to face. Pero syempre meron ka rin mga nagagawa sa face to face na na hindi mo nagagawa ngayon sa online setup. Siguro ang importante, gaya nga nung sinabi nung last time nila Father Johnny, when you're given the situation, ano yung gagawin mo? 'Di ba? How do you make um, the most out of the situation that you are given? Kaya importante yung ating uh, webinar ngayon dahil at kahit ilang beses mo siyang kahit isang beses mo siyang marinig, mapanood, after a while, iba pa rin yung effect sa'yo dahil
Yes.
experience mo at dahil ikaw din may maiaambag ka.
Yes. Now, plus, we really love no our speaker for today, which we're going to introduce in a little while.
Ayan.
Pero we would like to ask first our teachers, no, if you were going to be asked, no, from 1 to 5, how well are you using technology in the classroom? Okay, so let's hear that in the chat box right now. Okay, from 1 to 5, no, one, 5, no, being exceptional in the use of technology in the classroom. Okay,
Wow,
one, okay, not so, still a lot of things to improve on, or two, to learn, okay, about technology integration. So let's hear it from our teachers, okay? And now may mga pumapasok na mga numbers, okay? 4, okay? Let's just wait.
nahiya pa si
Siguro
teacher.
nag-iisip pa, no, yung mga teachers natin. Nasaan nga ba ako ngayon when it comes to technology integration, no? From what, yan, ang dami ng mga pumapasok numbers. Okay, so let's keep it coming, teachers, no? So that our speaker would also get to know more about your context, okay? And where you're at in terms of technology integration. Pero Sir Jambi, no, kaya ako gustong tanungin yun kanina sa'yo is that it's actually both a question for both of us, no? Kasi when we think about technology use, it just it can't be focused on the use. Okay? Minsan kasi yun yung napo-focus natin, no, that it's enough that I use technology and then I'm a 21st century educator. Actually, the keyword here for today is impactful technology use. Okay? How do we actually create an impact in using technology? Okay? In
Correct.
redefining the classroom. Yun yung ating pag-uusapan para sa araw na to. And of course, okay, um, Sir Dabi, for today, no, I'll be taking the introduction because our speaker for today is my mentor, and I have
Ayan.
always been looking up to her, no, and she's always been an inspiration to all the things that we do at KTS. So let me introduce our wonderful, no, and very passionate speaker for today. Okay, Bonnie Shelat is the director of educational technology for the state of Louisiana. Okay, just recently moved. She's a Google for Educator certified innovator, trainer and coach, okay, Google Educator Group Leader, okay, GEG South Louisiana, co-founder of Global GEG, and leader of Global GEG's Echo Open Chat. In addition, Bonnie is also an EdChange Global leader and is passionate about supporting technology integration in schools. She shares her support and passion for coaching by bringing coaches together in a global scale. Google for Education Certified Innovator, Trainer and Coach, Google educator, no, group leader, co-founder, and global GEG leader of global GEGs. Let's welcome to our stream Miss Bonnie.
Y'all get better at this like every time. That's so cute. Like, oh, how are y'all? How is everybody?
We're doing fine. No? Hi, Bonnie, and good afternoon from our end. I know it's good morning on your end. No? And again,
Really?
it's always thankful no, for accommodating us despite the time difference, okay, and for sharing no, your time with
Mm.
us. Okay? So,
I'm glad
me,
to. Glad to.
yes. And again, as again, teachers, if you don't know, no, that Miss Bonnie is my mentor from the Innovators Academy. No, okay? And you would see, the pattern where I'm going at, okay, and trying to, no, to follow her steps. Okay? And of course, the founder of Global GG, Bonnie. I think there are a lot of Filipinos already, Filipino educators, in the Global GEG group already, if I'm not mistaken.
There's like the Filipino like ed tech culture is completely different than every other place. It's crazy. You know, like Mary Manzano, like when she's so passionate and she's such a good leader. And I've been fortunate to work with so many good people from like the Philippines on kind of I don't know what you guys are doing down there, but it's working because it's just so big and it's like people are just so passionate and so knowledgeable. It's different than anywhere else. Facts.
Okay.
Facts.
Bonnie, before maybe we give you the floor for your session, maybe ask for like an overview. What are we going to actually talk about today? Although we give context already earlier.
Um, yeah, yeah, no, you were great. But yeah, what he talked about, and I kind of set up my slides a little different than I normally talk. I was kind of, I don't know. I want to learn from you guys as much as I just talk. So I have my slides set up in a way where we can add to them too. Like maybe you're gonna tell me something I don't know, which I'm sure this many people here, because Franco always has such a large audience. I bought a new camera for this because I was like, oh man, I'm talking with Franco. That's like a lot of people. That's real people. Um, but it's kind of informal, but more just like talking about like meaningful ways to use technology, not just like to because I feel like sometimes we can use it like as a stamp, like I check the box off, I use technology, but like are you using it to improve your classroom? That's kind of what we talk about.
And we are excited for that, no, Bonnie. So good luck, Bonnie. Teachers, okay, enjoy the session. We'll be at the chat. No, we'll be engaging you. And if you have questions, concerns, okay, please do let us know in the chat. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen, but I did make it so whenever you want to add it, Franco, if it'll let me. Yeah, I want to share my screen, but like I said, I made some slides, but I really just want to talk, about a few things that I'm really passionate about. Like I said, I just took a new role as the director of technology for the state. So my entire state, I did. So I was a classroom teacher for anybody. I was a classroom teacher for like 10 years, and then I worked as like a school leader, doing like technology integration and instructional coaching. Then I worked for the past 3 years at the district level. In my district, we had about 93 schools and 40,000 students. So we worked at that. So I worked at that level, and I supported like school leaders and teachers, and I got to do coaching. So I've done all the things, all the roles you can imagine. I've done at a school. Um,
Bonnie, actually, the screen is already at the backstage, although I can still see the StreamYard, not
okay.
your
Um,
presentation. Okay,
is
okay, there.
is
Yes,
this good now? Okay.
yes, it's good. Okay, good luck, Bonnie.
All right. Thanks. All right, so you can find these slides. I have some links, and we can drop them in the chat on here. If you'd like to follow along, like you're gonna have this on the screen, but if you'd like to access it on your own, it's bit.ly/tech to ECH dash bond. Um, and so that's kind of where I was gonna jump off. Like I said, I recently took a new spot, so now I am responsible for like big picture tech planning too. Um, so we in my state we've got 64 like I don't know the what we call them parishes, unlike any other state in the United States. Everybody else has something different, but um, we probably have, between like 500 like charter schools, school districts, private schools, and so we've got to make them all work. So I need to find like strategies I can show them that kind of work for everybody, right? Um, if you want to follow up with me anywhere, you can find me on Twitter at Bonnie Schlett, just my name. I've got a bunch of resources. I use my website techbond.com just like as a landing pad for anything I pass on to people. Um, and then feel free to email me at bond@techbond.com. I didn't put my work email just because it's really long. But if you want my work email, it's bonnie.schlett@la.gov. Like Franco said, I've done all the Google badges. I did find them very worthwhile. If that's something you haven't done, Franco offers so much support on getting that done. It's crazy. Um, I would suggest them just as, free professional development, like with a goal, with a gold star at the end. Um, I know they're changing level 1 and level 2 right now, but the coach program for me, I did like the curriculum, and we'll talk about that in a second. Trainer's great. It was the one I did first out of these three, and then Innovator, which is great. And Innovator is great because it's a community. You're joining. It's not people always. Somebody called it an award the other day at my new job, and I was like, oh, that's not what it is. It's a lifestyle. It's connections. It's community. So, and that's what all of these are. And they're building up the coach community as well. So, but don't not make sure you reach out to me if you have questions. So, I think you can see right here, the big three things that are kind of always going to be themes throughout what we're going to talk about today is first, and probably most important to me, is like strategy first, tool second. Um, Pedagogy is the goal. I love all the toys. Do not get me wrong. Like I said, I made a fancy excuse to go buy a new camera for my. I was like, oh, this is unacceptable. I love all the toys. I love all the tech. I love all those kinds of things. But it's easy to get sucked into the cutesy nature of it. Um, and a lot of times I'll use the word toy and tool interchangeably because it can be, are we using it to learn? Are we using it just because it's fun? And that's fine. It's totally cool to have fun, but just be mindful of that. You want to make sure that your pedagogy is, how you're teaching and what you're getting out of it is the goal. Start small and be consistent. I saw lots of people in the chat were saying, they were super masters of it, and that's awesome. But I always tell people like whether you're new or you're just trying something out, like pick one or two things and master it. Be the best at those two. There's no need to overwhelm yourself and your students with logins and too many tools. Like take one thing and let them get really good at using it and really take it to the next level. Um, and then take a village. Like when I interviewed I've only been on my new job for 4 weeks. So when I interviewed, I had to make a lesson. That was part of my interview process, and it stressed me out a whole bunch. But I did this really cool lesson and all this stuff. And the lady interviewed me, said it was interesting that you picked tools that could be used in any subject matter. And I was like, yeah, because I find teachers that really thrive work on teams of teachers where everybody is using the same tool. So they're not having to teach the tool in isolation. So that like if I like to use Flipgrid, so my other teachers, I showed them we're all using Flipgrid with our students. Now our students are going to be masters of it. They're not just playing with it once. Now they're going to be able to like produce to the next level. So you can take away that time spent teaching how to use it and give the kids back that time making things with it. All right, and Franco, stop me if I'm way out of line. But I saw this the other day on Twitter, and like, what do you want kids to do with technology? And I just really really liked it because like are we like I love Flipgrid. I think it's super cool. And just thinking about how far it's come in such a short amount of time. Don't get me wrong. I think Flipgrid is bomb.com, but Um, do we or what are we what is our goal with that? Are we trying to get kids to add to Flipgrid, or are we trying to get them to find conversations and and get answers? And so I just really liked this, and it played into my little notebook theme here. But think about like what you want to do with the technology. And I keep repeating that because there's always going to be some new toy or some new tool out there that'll do what you want. It's your idea and what you're doing with it that really is the innovation. So yeah, just remember it's an you're looking for, always think about your outcome. So I talked about the coach program for a little while, but I'm gonna dig more into that. If you're not familiar with the certified coach program, it's like a framework of guidance and resources that support you in supporting others in tech integration. Um, I'm gonna look. We can. I'm gonna. We'll go to. We can go to that website. But also recently, I did and I'm putting the links right there in the chat. I did a speak at the California Q, their conference, with Becky Lim and Steph Rothstein, and we did. They're all certified coaches, and we did a talk about coaching for coaches. So we'll link that in the chat because this is going to have a link to all the Google certified coach uh, resources and a few more things about it, like taking how to take your coaching up a notch. I know coaching is kind of started in a very as an American idea. Um, I'm not sure, like how much it's going on, like in the school yet, and in your local area. Um, it is a new idea. I think and if people don't do it right, it won't be a thing anymore. But there's some resources about anybody who's becoming a teacher leader, and thinking about that why and how you can get your teachers to go further, um, by working alongside of them. But the coach program, I think that the strength of the coach program is the curriculum that they offer, and that's why it's different than all of the other programs. Um, because it's multi-step. You do have to be level 1 and level 2, but it's like a free graduate school course, that you work at your own pace. And I think if you've ever checked it out, definitely take your time. You do it on your own pace. The LMS they have for this, is anybody else like, if anybody else has done this curriculum, I love the LMS for this. It's so cute. Um, but so you go through and it walks through, and they've got tons of resources embedded in this, um, tons of like documents you can use with teachers, to help you like be a better coach and to. But a lot of the things in the a lot of the things I'm saying I've learned in the curriculum. Like I said, talking about goals, focusing on tools. I mean, on goals, not tools, and then addressing barriers to technology access and stuff. These are big picture things, and then things that, like, I know for me, I always get sucked into want to play with. Let's do the fun stuff, but the curriculum really offers a really good framework for, and not just if you're becoming a tech coach, but if you're finding yourself in a leadership role of any sort, if you're helping people, with any kind of thing, you can use a lot of the ideas in, this curriculum as a model to support people. I've been talking for a few minutes. I need to check the chat. Um, all right. If make sure you stop me if I'm saying anything crazy. But so huge fan of the coaching model. And I know Franco can probably speak as well to that because he's like the embodiment of a coach. He manages. A coach is more somebody who works one on one with people. He somehow manages to train all of the Philippines and things, and still work with people one on one. So that's super cool. Um, but I find that like coaching too involves like building a lot of trust. For me, like it's And that's what that framework does. It kind of sets up that pattern for, because coaching is not a one-time thing. It's like we're doing this together. Um, we're working alongside of each other. So if you're interested in joining that coach program, or like, it is newer than the other Google programs, so it's still coming out. But definitely check out the curriculum, even if you're not necessarily certified, because it's a really good a framework for being a teacher or leader, which is a hard place to be. I just read an article the other day that said that teachers who are like leaders in their own campus, sometimes always feel like they're having to like fight against co-teachers or like their administration, because people sometimes feel like the way that they're always pushing for the next thing is a criticism. So being a teacher leader of any sense, whether it's tech or not, you can benefit from having like framework. You're like, okay, here's my plan, because it can be isolating. All right, so a thing that Franco also mentioned to me that we were going to talk about today, because I asked him for some guidance because he's so wise. He always says mentor. I don't know about that. We were connected, and I was learned as much from Franco as certainly as he has from me. But the coach certification started off as a pilot, something called the Dynamic Learning Project, and you'll see all the documents in the curriculum that you can take and use as your own will have like this Dynamic Learning Project logo and signage. And so following that same idea of like analyzing your tech integration, uh, and using an essential reflection piece. This is a really, really good rubric that's designed for teachers and coaches to assess impactful technology use. So not just using technology for the sake of technology, but how do you know you're being successful? Um, So one is students select relevant technology tools. So right here you can kind of go through and it'll have like in my classes, and then how are my students? So um, are the students selecting tools? Now your district might have, or your school might have purchased a product and you need to use that product. So don't ever take it like too personal. Like if you're not letting your students select what technology because you're using something that you're supposed to use, like it's okay. You're okay. But if you can, student choice always leads to student agency and student voice. So if you do have an option to let students pick, that's cool. But that one's always, I think, out of all the ones that I deal with, people are always like, well, I didn't let them choose that point. It's okay. Um, so you're going to look at like in my classes, students select relevant technology tools and resources, and then my students are proficient in selecting relevant technology tools or resources. So you do want to like guide your students in how to. Got my new camera. You want to help your students in how to select the right tools though. Like why do they want to pick slides? Why do they want to use docs? Is it just their favorite? Why, have them think about why it's their favorite. All right, I don't have my thing pulled up. I'm gonna make sure I look not like a crazy person. But yeah, so use this rubric. Take this, like I said, whether your role is like a teacher leader or okay, so I'm good. Have anything crazy? Yeah, student voice isn't very important. See about my camera. It's not being my friend. All right. In my defense, it is 3 o'clock in the morning here, but I love talking to you guys, so it's okay. Um, so look at this rubric though, um, alongside, whether you're using it, you're working it on as a team. I think that teachers are like really the most successful when they're on a good team. When you've got a good group of people that are all supporting each other, like whether it's your grade level team or your subject level team or just your group of friends. Like I've always had a group of teacher friends that I had a margarita with after school. Um, and even though we said we weren't going to talk about school, we always talked about school, and it helped us be good teachers because you just have that somebody to bounce ideas off of. So rubrics aren't always, don't always use it as a measurement tool. Use it as a guide. Sometimes we're a little hard on ourselves. But so collaboration. The first one, like I said, choice is sometimes really hard, but collaboration, you got collaboration. I think that's what technology has really brought into the classroom more than anything. Um, and so you want to think about, is the technology facilitating collaboration across your classroom? This is really cool because it talks about working in pairs. This one gives some really good examples. So you think about, in my classes, do students use technology to collaborate? Um, and that's just, you want to think about that. That is so core to so many different like shifts in education and having students support each other. And when students are collaborating, the cognitive load is on them. Um, as teachers, I think so many of us have control. We want to control the kids' learning. So let me tell you what you need to know, you need to do. But if students are collaborating, somebody told me once, whoever's doing the talking is doing the learning. And that really stuck with me because, if I'm just standing there talking to them and they'll listen. I'm mean enough to make everybody quiet in that room. But are they doing the learning if I'm the one explaining everything? Um, so collaboration is, a big part of that impactful technology use rubric. Kind of an expansion of that is communication. Like, are they developing those technology skills? Is it because like now technology is um, going to be how they communicate. Very few people are going to have, so many of our, I say very few, but um, so many of our students are going to have jobs that involve communicating online. Now, the workforce has completely changed. So many people working from home, remote. They need to. That's like the number one skill we need to teach them now is to be able to communicate electronically. I think there's a misnomer that this generation of students too is like they're masters of the technology because they are not. And you have to teach them how to act, and you have to be able to express their ideas through writing, um, and in video and in drawings and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. Um, my favorite, and I am super creative. It often surprises people because I'm crafty and stuff. But creativity is that last step for true like meaningful integration, like because creation is that last step on Bloom's taxonomy, right? Like that's it, that's the top, is when you're creating. That's when you're um the highest, like the students are most engaged, when they aren't consumers anymore, they're creators. So when you're looking at impactful technology use, um, you definitely look at creativity as a way for innovation. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she is so creative. Now, that being said, that doesn't always test. We had to have a whole conversation the other day because, like, our test scores aren't always great. And I was like, well, your skills are just different. It's not what's tested. And I know that's really hard for schools too, because it depends on like what is your measure for indicator for success for your classroom, what is your school's measure indicator for success. But always, 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 try to foster that creativity, um, because that is directly connected to that critical thinking aspect of it. So students are asking questions, investigating, evaluating. Um, those are that next level thinking. Like I said, that cognitive load is on them when they're, and that's all going to build up agency. So when you're using technology in your classroom, you want to look at how often in your classes are students doing it, how often are you doing it, and how are your students doing it. um, you're not going to get to that like highest level of technology integration ever. You have to teach the kids how to do things. That's why they're there. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to have these like students creating mini documentaries about about the bubonic plague every all the time. Like that's a culminating. You have to build on that. And we'll talk more about models of integration as well. um I'm gonna take a breath. Do I have anybody that has like any questions? um all right, let me see.
So far, Bonnie, wala pa naman. There are no questions. Okay, there are actually some
Okay.
insights in the audience. Okay, right now. Okay.
I'm sure. I need
Yes.
to make
Okay.
sure I'm looking.
Very
See,
very
but
insight.
yeah, Franco, you should talk more about the coaching program because you should be like the face of it.
We
Um,
can actually talk about maybe some other time. No? But actually, that's what's great about the coaching program is that it allows you to see technology use in a more structured way, that a more purposive use of technology. Okay, because in most cases, what technology integration is like a fad, popularity, or trendy
mhm,
tools. Okay, but again, the coaching program, when I took it, it reminded me about the basic principles, okay, of technology integration, okay, in order to better use technology effectively and impactful use of technology. I think that's a very very
yeah,
important keyword, no, Bonnie, in that model.
I know.
Okay.
I agree. You've always been Franco's always been good with impactful though, because that was his original innovator program was impactful professional development. That is his skill set. Just saying. Um, so we talked about like that bigger framework. But if you're planning lessons, if you need a impactful tech integration model, there are three big ones out there. So Sammer, TPAC, and Addy. Addy, I would believe, is the newer. I actually looked that one up. Addy is when Franco mentioned it to me, is more I think like design thinking. Um, when I'm coaching or like helping somebody, I tend to prefer Sammer, which I feel like a lot of people are falling out of love with, just for like its simplicity. If I feel like if I'm starting with somebody new, like with technology, I don't want to give them a complicated framework for understanding it. Um, so I personally tend to like Sammer. That is completely um your like preference. But for meaningful, like you said, for meaningful integration, you need to think about what's the tool doing, you know. Um, Like, I could use my stapler as a hammer to substitute it for other things. But, it's that really like it's that growth. So this is a real like I said, I use this graphic a lot, um, because when I'm trying to help people with their tech integration and um, it for meaningful tech integration. So first level is substitution. Is the tech just a direct substitute? Like are they reading a book on their computer, right? So just like they could do with a regular sheet of paper, like the technology is not enhancing or anything like that. Um, so your next step is augmentation. So augmentation might be that like they can highlight using Cami. They're the PDF of the book they're reading is on their computer. They can highlight um, using Cami. This one is I find the trickiest for people. Augmentation and modification. like which is which. There's not, you just really the difference between augmentation and modification is like the significant, like how much change is happening. um I don't know, I don't stress too much about it sometimes. Like if teachers like, oh, I'm not sure, and I'm like, do you feel like it's enough? Like, let's do it then. But augmentation is just where you just like, that augmented reality. You're taking what you have and you're adding on top of it. So like I said, so we're using Cami to edit, to highlight and mark up your text. And then modification is, even using more of those tools that you couldn't do with a book anymore. And so now we're talking about, like, if you're having students collaborate on Cami, if you're having uh, students like comment or mark up each other's text, um, and that really, and like making screen shares and stuff and video comments, and really taking up that, just they went from a book on their computer to now doing something, because the end goal when you're at this redefinition level, it's something that you can't do without a computer. And that's generally how I explain to people. Like, most things with Google Earth are redefinition, because there's no paper like any other, um there's no opposite side to that. Google Earth is redefinition. It is the tech that allows for something previously inconceivable. Um, but like with schoolwork and stuff, like paper and books and those kinds of things, you can go through SAMR. I do find I've seen this a lot. Went too far. This student choice matrix, and I'm showing it to you, but at the same time, I'm telling you I don't like it. Like, I think the idea is there, that like the substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition, but in like Frank was talking about meaningful, I could still use Pear Deck, but it not necessarily be redefinition. So if you see this matrix, people share this a lot, and I like it. I'm not getting it wrong, I like it, but I don't want people to think. I don't want teachers to think that just because they're using Edpuzzle, they're hitting that meaningful impactful technology integration, because that's not necessarily the case. It's how you're doing it. Um, I've seen really great teachers use tools like No Red Ink to like really have innovative assessments, and I've seen some people who used it and it was not redefinition. So same with Zoom. You guys know that like you could have a classroom that Zoom would like take up to the next level, or you might have one where the teacher's just talking to the kids and the kids are listening with their cameras off. So just be wary if you ever see this. Um, while it can be a fun guide, and it's a great list of cool tools, and some of it's right. Um, I would be wary to let people like think that like just because you're using a tool and it's in this redefinition category, that what you're doing is impactful. You have to keep that reflection piece in there, um, and make sure that it's how you're using the tool. And that goes back to like the first thing I said, I know, but how you're using that tool, that's what makes it meaningful. And so from there, the other model I think that is trendier right now, but is TPAC. Um, and so right here on this slide, I have like the the bridge of the two, like um, how you can translate them. So like basically level one is that substitution, and level four. But TPAC is said, if I have a brand new teacher, I don't want to start here. Maybe I don't want to be mean. I'm like, let's just start simple, and then we'll build it out. But TPAC is this framework, a Venn diagram are of like the change between is it technological knowledge that I'm teaching them, Is it pedagogical knowledge that I'm teaching, or is it content knowledge? Like, how am I teaching and using it? And then there's like this sweet spot in the middle where that is, that is all the things. Like I said, I know, and some people might love this, and this is your preference for how to reflect on lessons and stuff. Awesome. It's just not my favorite to teach. I work with a lot of new teachers, and jumping off with this one, I always feel like I'm having to explain the framework so much, and we're not getting to like actually get to the fun stuff. Um, but this one is better, I guess, for taking into account, are you teaching the tool more than you're teaching the content? Um, and that's something that I really always consider. How much time have I spent on the teaching how to log into this, as opposed to like what they're learning. Addie isn't used much in my area. Like I said, I had to look more about it when Franco mentioned it. But Addie's an instructional design model. It's like design thinking. Um, I can totally see students. I taught middle school guys, and they're just so funny. I could totally see them being like, "Who's Addie?" Like every time you used it. But analyzing, design thinking, development, implementation, evaluation, and that's a way to look at how you're using technology with that almost that like goal in mind. I want to get this done. Now let me design the lesson that goes with it. Let me try it out. Let me evaluate and see if it worked. All right. To have make sure oh sorry, I clicked down my screen. Franco, anything I'm leaving out on Addie?
So far, none. I'll just comment later on after during our panel.
Okay. You sure?
So,
I'll
yeah,
talk
so
to
far
you
so
when I
good.
know. So tips for tech integration though, also like, and I did a presentation for new teachers the other day, like brand new teachers, people that have never been in the classroom, and I think it was one of my best. My new camera. Um, I think it was one of my better presentations because I talked a lot about um, managing your digital classroom, and because these people were starting from scratch, right? They have no bad habits. I can teach them how to do everything just right. And I was like, set up your digital classroom just like you would your physical classroom. Have all your routines. Have all your like. Think about the layout. Think about this is how we're gonna turn in papers every day. Like have all those procedures that you would have for your physical class. Have them on the digital world now. Like have that option. Set up your digital classroom with the like all the this is where you turn in the papers, this is how we name our files. um File students are definitely need to work more on like managing like the file naming and stuff. That's a huge, I think moving forward, it's like a number one skill we should teach kids is how to save your work and name it where it makes sense. um but have a plan for all those things, because it's the internet's not going anywhere, the computer's not going anywhere, so you're gonna have to do it. So when you're using tech in your classroom, make it a part of your classroom, not separate. Not like today we're using technology. Like have all those procedures in place so that it's so seamless when you're going when you're integrating technology, and then when you're not. So have all that in place. Another tip I would have is just to ask. If you're not on Twitter, I find I'd like to do a study on it. I feel like in Philippines or in APAC in general, um, I find more educators are on Facebook. But in a lot of places, educators are on Twitter, and there's so many hashtags, just like edu Twitter and edtech. There you can get answers very quickly to almost anything just asking on Twitter, and you tag the right people. Tag me. Just try it out because it's really, really, really helpful. Like for me, I wasn't always on edgy Twitter. I don't really use Twitter for like personal stuff as much. But there there are the ed tech people are on Twitter. I'm actually gonna do my I say all this stuff. I'm in grad school. I'm doing my thesis on teachers using Twitter for like tech stuff because it's so in it's such a community now. Um, and always to just as a tip, like when you're thinking about meaningful tech integration, is does the tech improve the lesson? I know I have done this. I have found some new funny shiny thing, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to use this. But like in the end, it didn't improve my lesson. I could have done something simpler, save time, and my students would have learned as much. So just always fall back to that. Does the tech um, improve the lesson? Um, and just last, and Franco, we can cover some things too, but um, I just want to talk about a few of like, and I had a long list here, guys. Had a really long list, and I shortened it because I was like, all right, I'm gonna be the person that I said I was gonna be about simplification and picking one or two things. So pick three things that are really, if you're not using, they're fantastic. One is Canva. Canva for education. I have it linked right here. Canva is what I use to make these slides. It is free for educators. It is very simple to sign up. I can create almost anything, re-sign it, resize it, rebrand it, share it. Now it connects with Google Sheets. I can make charts. Um, I use Canva every day. Like I have classes. You can see I have like groups. Um, some of my friends, like me and my friend Stephanie, always like present together. So we have a little class on Canva. This is where we make our slides. Um, Zoom backgrounds. These are for a few other things you can see right here. So you can have, your team, your um, all kinds of stuff. I have other groups that I share with and I collaborate. But you can do this with students as well. You can have classes with your students. They can submit their work. They can create on here. It is totally free. In fact, you can reach out. Maybe not at the school level. You might have to get it. Depends on how your schools have it set up. But you can get Canva where it's single sign on, and so because right now like teachers have to go and like create accounts and stuff, um and it has to be approved as an education account. It's just a button. Don't They've got made it much easier, but you can go through the company. They're very nice, and they'll do single sign-on for you where your students can go through Google. It'll automatically create their education account, and it's really cool. And you can have these classrooms set up. It is completely synced with Google. You can sync it with Google Classroom. Um, and so I think this is one of those features that meets all of our qualifications, and it can save you a ton of time. Like I said, Zoom backgrounds. If you go in now, they have an education tab with lesson plans, worksheets, certificate, everything right here. They've even got a whole like if you're for your physical classroom. Whole kits like people I know, like I have some those cute teachers that all have like themes in their classrooms. um they've got it done for you. But at the same time, like infographics, infographics are so cool to get kids to make because they have to synthesize their learning. They have to summarize, and that's hard, right? Sometimes it's easier to write. I used to have a professor, and he used to make us read a book and summarize it in one page, which was really hard. Um, so infographics are a fun way to be that really mean professor, um, to make them really summarize. And Canva has all of these um, built in, like and you can take these templates and share them with kids in lots of different ways, and just fun, fun, fun. I cannot talk about Canva enough. So if you're using tech with students, that's a great one. And it's free. Now, back more to like the coaching, or you could have students do this, but um, teaching the tech to kids is often the struggle, or adults, getting them to log in. I love IORAD. It's a super, super cool way to make, and if you're following on Twitter, they make lots of like short, cool tutorials on how to do things very quickly. You can export the data. But another thing, they have a few pro features that they have recently, like you can mask your data and stuff like that when you're making a tutorial. Um, and they have an ambassador program where you can get the pro features for free. I just finished it. It's not that hard. You just have to make some tutorials every year to make, stay IO radical. I haven't seen this one, but yeah, so right here they have education advocate. You take these courses and it takes a few hours, but it costs $10 a month if you were going to pay for the pro features. So now that they have an option for teachers to do it for free, I'm such a huge fan. And like I said, you could use that like to skip those steps of like teaching the tech to the students. You can make these tutorials using IORAD where they have that to review. So you're not spending all day teaching how to log in. You've got those simple ways. And once you make it there, you have it for all of your classes. Um, and I think the other one, and if you're not familiar already, is Wakelet. I went back and forth at first on Wakelet. I didn't love it. I was like, I don't know why I would need this. Um, but now I'm in. Now I'm in because you can make this is my Halloween Wakelet that I shared with people. And it's got all kinds of like any activity I would find on the internet about like Halloween or fall or Thanksgiving, I would put it here and I can share with students. And you can get students to create Wakelets. So you can have them curate resources. Um, and at first I was like, well, there's so many other ways to do this. You can use a Jamboard, you can use whatever. But they have come around to their way of thinking. And now you can do columns. Like I said, I think I pulled up that this one, the way my friend Becky had it set up when we did ours, like these columns, um, which is really just a really clear way to share resources. So I've really started to get on the Wakelet for your curation, and it's kind of neat because it's like a social media almost for social media. Like you can follow other educators. So like I know Becky Lim, so I can follow her. But if I want to search tech integration collections, you can see like, here's a whole collection of perfect purposeful tech usage of resources for me. So just check it out. Like I said, so as I really wanted to, oh, look at this one. This is good. I'm gonna add this to my slides. But and you can like things and you can bookmark it. So now, but yeah, so like right here, such a good quote. Technology will not replace teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. And that's huge. Because you're not, I think if anything, COVID showed how you can't have a classroom without a teacher, because we went virtual and it wasn't like we could just throw 100 kids in a virtual classroom. They needed even more direction because we were so everything was so different. So, all right. So, what do you guys think? So, Franco, let's chat. I think I went a little fast, but
Sorry. Bonnie, thanks so much for those. Okay, teachers, if you have questions, okay, please indulge us. No, I think and is that going to be the last slide, Bonnie? Can you
that's
let me
all
know?
I have. We can go back and talk
Yes.
about other things. Those are just the
Yes,
only
of
slides I have.
course. Definitely. Now let me share, Bonnie, na, I really like, the reason why I asked to, for us to cover the different models of technology integration, okay? Is that because, teachers, let me know, no, if I'm correct, SAMR, okay, for our public school teachers
Mhm.
here, is actually a measurement for ranking. That's actually part of their what we call COT, if I'm not mistaken. So teachers from our public schools, okay, do correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But I've heard that SAMR is actually part, no, of how our teachers are actually being assessed in terms of their performance. It is very very important, no, for them
Mhm.
to understand, really understand, no, and talk about the different models, no, of technology integration. And actually, from my perspective, no, do correct me, Bonnie, if I'm like wrong or anything. But from my perspective, there's these three models actually in a way work hand in hand with each other, depending on how you're going to approach it. Okay. Say for example, I look at and this is what sometimes wrong, Bonnie. No, in the Philippines, okay, they actually think that SAMR is actually for ranking, no, how well you're using technology. Okay, like if you are substituting, no, your like
Yeah,
basic
and see, yeah, I don't
fundamental.
like that. I don't like that. That's
Yes,
not
okay.
true.
That's actually one or the first correction that you'll have to make teachers know.
Yeah,
Okay, that SAMR is not about ranking people. Okay, it's we don't use that like
no,
to
because you
boast
want
that
kids
you
to
are.
read. You know, like
Yes,
reading
no,
is number one, and so if they're reading a
correct.
book, that's still reading. It's
Yeah.
still fantastic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. You're correct, Nobody. That's actually one of the corrections I'd like to make, no, for our teachers, that SAMR is not about ranking people. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you are substituting or using technology for substitution, that you are any less as a teacher. Okay, to those people who are using technology, no, for redefinition. Okay, what how I look at SAMR is actually for variation and deepening of use. Okay, what SAMR does for you is that it allows you to see exactly where you're at, no, or what you're doing with technology. Okay. So it would tell you easily because technology use can't be like an umbrella use of, for education. Okay. So there's really times that we really have to use substitution. Okay. And because it's the call of the lesson or a call of the objectives. Okay? Or sometimes there's a call for redefinition because your objectives or your learning objectives actually calls for it. Okay. So
Mhm.
there's really nothing wrong if you're using it for substitution. Okay. But I think, Bonnie, what SMR really does for you is that the awareness of how you're using technology. It
Agreed.
lets you,
Yeah,
yeah, it puts you into perspective. Oh, I'm using it for substitution. Okay, so that's good. Okay.
and maybe
I'm
things.
using.
Yeah, like and to like how you could change, like the potential for your lesson. Could you redefine it using technology? You know,
Correct. Okay.
could you make it way different? You know, yeah, like more of a framework for understanding what you're doing. Yeah, I don't like ranking teachers. Periods. I'm not.
Yes, no. But unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, Bonnie,
Yeah.
it's actually being used for ranking. Okay, so that's something that we have to talk about. Of course, that's also one way of going about it. Okay, and actually, Bonnie, they can also use SAMR to actually, in a way, elevate the use of technology. Okay, say for example, you use substitution, like instead of like writing an essay on paper, you ask them to write,
Mhm.
or you ask your students to write it on Google Docs. Okay, that's basically substitution. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you can actually I don't know, elevate that to augmentation by asking another classmate to be invited in Google Docs. Okay,
Mhm.
to comment, no, peer feedbacking. Okay, and you don't
Yeah.
usually get that, no, in a paper. Okay, if yeah, you'll have to pass the paper if you really want to do that. But with Google Docs, that can easily be done. Okay, And then if you want to go, for example, to modification, then why not, for example, ask ask them to maybe how do you modify
You
maybe
use
it's
suggestion mode.
yes, you
That's
can
like
also do that. Or
yeah.
translation. Okay, you can also do translation so that it can be published or can be read no by other audience. Okay, and those things are no longer present no in a paper or printed format. Okay, and of course maybe redefinition okay, is something like instead of an essay, why not just like create a blog altogether? Okay, so you're
Mhm.
now redefining the entire process or output of your technology. Okay, that's actually can be used. No? So again, those are ways no to view SMR. If for the TPAC, Bonnie, I sort of like look at it as way to create focus. And I
Mhm.
really like no, how you presented it earlier, okay? That you really have teachers no, you really have to be very I don't know, very like you have to focus what are you really using the technology for? Are you using it to teach the content or are you using it to teach how to use the technology? Okay. Very
Yes.
classic, yeah, very classic mistake, Bonnie, here in the Philippines that sometimes we ask our students okay, to make a vlog and then we measure them or we put in the rubric on the technicalities of making the vlog. So that now creates like a problem. Are you measuring your students' skill to create a video or their ability to
Yes.
express the content in a video format? You'll have to be very
Yeah.
clear with that.
And that's where that
Oh,
choice comes in, because they can pick what they're best
correct.
at already. And
Yes,
there's a lot of stuff that I know I'm pushing the teacher Twitter, but a lot of templates out there like this or that, like where you give students quick options. So you spend less time teaching them how to do something because you're like, pick what you already know.
correct. Okay. And of course, no, also, Bonnie, I'd like to also inform our teachers that when you're using technology, make sure that you spend time teaching it to them. Okay. So you'll have to also, ano, no, leverage the skills of your students to the task you're asking them. Because, for example, you're asking them to do a vlog, but they don't know how to do a video, they fail, or they will not be able to do your
Yes.
task. And there's a
Yes.
big disconnect there, Bonnie, because they failed
Huge.
not because they don't know your content. They failed because they can't do the videos. Those are two entirely different things. Okay, so
Yeah.
TPAC helps you
Depending
do
on
that, no?
depending on your content. Yeah, exactly. Like if you're teaching, history, um, if they can, do they know your history, what you're teaching, or is it more important that they make a video? And I need to stress that I love this stuff, guys. I love playing with all the different things and and toys and all the different tools out there. Don't get me wrong. Um, but sometimes it's easy to get sucked into that. You just have
Yes.
to make sure, it's student focused.
Actually, there's a good insight in the audience earlier about using tools as a toy for amusement and for entertainment. Okay. Well, that actually serves that purpose, but that should not be the only purpose why we're using technology. It should not be like to only to entertain our students. Of course, there should be a different like use
Yeah.
of it. Okay. And the last one, Bonnie, no, the ADDI for me, no, is really for polishing technology use. Okay.
We
Because
don't use
actually,
adding that much at all. Like
oh,
I
ADI is
look it
actually a general sense, eh.
yeah, we don't
It's
I just look it up. I was like, what?
ADI is actually ano, it's actually a general framework for instructional design, not only for technology use, okay? But it just so happen that all the principles of ADI, fits in technologies. And for me, when you approach ADI or when you use ADI, for in relation technology integration, it's all about it helps you polish the process, okay? Because it creates a cycle of using the technology, okay?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the ad is always evaluation, okay, which is will render data in order how do you proceed to the next cycle of using technology. Okay? And I think that's very important, Bonnie, for impactful. That's actually one of the things also that I got from that coaching program. That whenever we use technology, it can't be just using the technology like one and done. It should actually be an entire process
And
of
cycle.
using it, okay? Observing how it actually impacted your classroom and actually evaluating if there's actually a change because if
Yeah.
technology does not bring change,
But
leave it.
evaluation and reflection, if it's not like that's the hardest piece to get people to do because they're so busy. And if there's a step you can cut out, it tends to be like reflection. And I always tell people, I'm like, I had to write this big fancy report, right, for the state. And then it was like, so in the first quarter, do this, and then we're going to do this. It was like, and then the second quarter, we're going to get the data, and then we're going to third quarter. And I was like, we're going to do the work. Like, you got to leave space in this story to fix what we got from the data. And they're like, "Oh."
Yes, yes.
You
It's
got
something
you
that you
have
have to also learn here in the
um,
Philippines. Okay, using data and data-driven instruction is actually very, very important. Okay, it
yeah.
allows you to be more objective in a sense about how you're approaching instructional design. Okay, for your classes. Okay, so that's how I look at ADI. No? So in a sense, if you look at the three models of technology integration that we can use, these are models that are not necessarily against each other or are criticisms of each other. These are actually complementing
Mhm.
models, no, to better enhance, okay, your technology use. Okay. So that's about it, Bonnie. That's what I would like to share. Now, teachers, there are some questions. There is a question from Teacher Manolita White. Okay. Okay, so this is from Teacher Manolita Oligo. Okay, how do these technologies change the way ADI is performed? Okay, what variant of ADI best match the needs of rapid
Mhm.
development? Which evaluation tool should be used for digital learning?
That's a lot of questions.
There's a lot.
Um,
Let's break it down. Let's start with how do these technologies change the way ADI is performed?
mm, like when we say these technologies, which ones were talking about? Like educational technology? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Um, I mean, I think, like I said, I think we have a lot of tools at our disposal to get that data now more than anything. Um, and even built into all these, like Google Forms. Imagine a life without Google Forms.
Yes.
And what do we do? And so, I think technology, we're definitely, we have more access to that, like that quick data, that formative assessment data right off the back. So when we get to that valuation piece, we can look at how we implement it and how we would change it.
I think so too, no? The use of technology for evaluation had been very, very important, especially with Google Forms. Kaya analytics kaya allows you to see
Yeah.
right away data, no? But I think when it comes to ADI, no, Teacher Manolita, the two most affected areas in the ADI, and the implementation of ADI would be definitely the two Ds in between, the design and development. Okay, now, when you design, okay, you're not anymore thinking in a traditional setup. Okay, you're now going to contextualize and package that within the context of digital education. Okay, so when you're designing, for example, an instructional design, okay, then you'll have to think about all the tools that's available for you. Okay, so there are actually a lot already. Bonnie mentioned some of them. Actually, Bonnie, no, Canva and Wakelet are two of the most popular tools now in the Philippines. These are widely used by Filipinos because Canva in the Philippines actually gave an educational account, okay, for teachers. Okay, so we have our teachers have like love Canva.
Canva is, I use it all the time. Like, and I
Yeah,
started
me
doing
too.
stuff.
And you know what,
You
Bonnie? Even my kids, okay, are using Canva. They love know how easy to use it. Okay.
you should
They've been
reach out
designing.
to, um, you should reach out to them because they'll give you vouchers for stuff.
Actually, we do. We have a connection with
Oh, good,
Canva
good, good.
Philippines here.
Because they gave
We've
me some
had
vouchers
so
for
far
some new teachers.
so far two webinars with Canva in here at the community. Okay. And
Um,
proceeding development. Okay, so now development of your instructional design will also be in the context of the digital space. Okay, so you'll have to put that now into context. Okay, that not all learning, okay, should happen inside the four corners of your classroom. Okay, so now it expands beyond your classroom. And given the pandemic, we also realized that there's so much spaces of learning that we can actually explore, not only the four corners of the
yeah.
classroom. Okay,
Hmm,
what variant of ADI best match the needs of rapid development? What could that be? Any
variant. I don't know.
what variant? Well, I think I
Uh,
think body would it definitely would be letter A. We just analyze, no? Okay?
yeah.
Because when you analyze, you're now going to look at your learners, which are 21st century learners, okay, that will like ultimately, no, redirect everything else. Okay? Knowing that your learners are no longer the learners that we are before, Bonnie.
Hmm.
We grew up in the age, you know, of the first two levels of Bloom's taxonomy of recalling and remembering. Okay? But now it's no longer the case. Okay? Your students had more skills actually because they're the digital natives. Okay? So you'll have to consider that as well in the context of the ADI model.
I saw, there's a scientist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I saw him do a speech, and he said that teachers are no longer, like, he said education is changing because all the students have the answers in their pocket. And he was like, they have a supercomputer that was, more tech advanced than what we sent to the moon in their pocket. So now what teachers' jobs are is to we're like curators of knowledge. And we have to teach them how to find the knowledge that's, and how to analyze it. You had a question in here
Yes.
too in the chat about evaluating sources. And is there a tech app that can help with that? I don't know of an app.
Which validation tools should be used for digital learning? Well, I think Bonnie, the ITU, no, it's actually a very powerful tool as well in assessing the use of technology. Okay,
Yeah.
on how impactful the digital tools were used in your classroom. Okay, that's actually we can begin with that. No? We can actually share that in the community later. No, the ITU rubric that we can use for this one. Okay. Bonnie, this one, another question from teacher Jerisa Caballes. Okay. What important ideas regarding the TPAC framework must a teacher keep in mind in migrating face-to-face learning to the online environment?
That's a good question. Your people always have good questions, though. So, regarding the TPAC framework, I think, like I said, I think TPAC. One of the best things about it is that it makes you be mindful of of like how much are you teaching the tech and how much are you teaching the content. And I think if you're migrating from face to face to online, you're still going to run into that. Like, how much are you teaching kids how to get online and all these things? Like, how much are you actually getting to teach them content? And so I think that's what the most important about TPAC is, like finding that balance.
Yes, indeed. No. Some people might say that content is no longer important today, but it's actually still. Okay, it's just that it's no longer just the important thing, but that's still a prerequisite. Much of our disciplines no, still
Yeah.
have that very strong core of content. Now we still have to teach them. Okay, the only difference I think now that TPAC brings is that it presents with you the idea that it's not just the content. You should also equally target the skills of your students, okay? Because it's yeah, that's true. No, everything is Googleable, right, Bonnie? I can Google things. Okay, so
Exactly.
wh- even if you are the expert in the room in your subject area, your students can easily match that with Google. So there should be no going beyond the content. Okay, is one thing that especially in the online environment, Bonnie, right now. Okay, we realize that our students have access to information, and again if your assessments and instructions are all about like recalling and remembering, that's not gonna work. I'm telling you. Okay, your students will be bored. Okay, they will disengage in your class because they don't see any importance on why they have to listen to information that they can easily access in the internet.
Yep.
Okay. Actually, that's a very my tip to our teachers body for that is that do you want to know if your instruction or your assessment is promotes higher order thinking skills, try to Google it. If you can find answers right away to your questions, okay, definitely that's something that is not promoting critical thinking. Okay? So That kind of test no, allows you to, if it's not Googleable, definitely my students okay, will actually be forced to think about it, to process it, to engage the content, to learn the skills, etc. Okay, so try to
It's a really
Google
fair
whatever you
point
yeah.
because that's
And
that
this,
creation part of it. Like
yes,
creation
indeed.
is if you're creating, then you're on that last step. Like the other day, so my daughter is doing math, and she's not the best at math. Like we're okay. She does okay. But so she gets really stressed. So I had her she does her little math and I said, "Oh man, I don't understand. Can you explain it to me?" And then she got all proud of herself and explained it. She got a little cocky though, because then she was like, "I can't believe you don't understand this, mom." And I was like, "I understood." I was being nice. But like her having to think about how to explain it, she just knocked it all out. Like so it was, that creation aspect of it and thinking of
Yes.
ways to explain it were really essential.
And you'll actually be amazed, no, how well they can actually create our
Mhm.
students nowadays. Okay, this one is from teacher Angelina Carpures. Okay, one concern today is how to evaluate the authenticity or truthfulness of sources. Information from the internet is there a tech app that can assist teachers and learners with this?
I don't know of an app. Um, I know that's a huge problem. Common Sense Media is really good at giving like resources for that for students. They're my go-to when I'm trying to teach truthfulness and stuff. Um, but I don't know of an app unless you do.
Yeah, well, we not really an app, but our Google Classroom has a an originality check. Okay, so it
Oh
actually
yeah, yeah,
promotes
yeah.
credible sources. Okay, we can actually easily spot on copy pasted works. Okay, from the internet. Okay, it red flags. Okay, certain statements that are not properly cited or had no I don't know or were copy pasted from the internet. Okay, but I think the best practice for this, Bonnie, is one of the things that we actually promote in the Google Certified Educators. The first thing, no, whenever we are conducting searches or looking for information, would be the 3 R's. Um, sorry, no, sorry pala. Triangulation, okay, which is basically checking your sources against other sources. Okay, so you triangulate it with other sources.
Yeah.
Okay, but ultimately, Teacher Angelina, no, it's not about really finding the truth. Perhaps I think because right now we given the amount of information, okay, there's actually could be very conflicting truths and information in the internet. I think the skill that you'd like to give your students, okay, is their ability to justify, okay, the supposedly no truthfulness of like a claim or a statement. Okay, that's I think what we have to focus on, okay, because searching for truth. Okay. Yes, you can make, for example, in the class, in your class, you can actually promote that. But what if after your class ends? Okay, how can they actually apply that skill in another situation, looking for another truth, etc. So
Yeah, I think if you're just looking for some resources to help, like if you go to commonsense.org/education, they've got lots of things on like lessons to like teach students. Lessons to teach students um, on like digital citizenship, fake news, that kind of stuff. They're really good about it. So if I was looking for a lesson on how to talk to students, about the validity of sources, this is where I would go. And they've got lots of stuff for parents and stuff too, and like reviews of ed tech apps too, like safety kind of does it have access to an outside source, that kind of stuff. But that personally, like I'll send parents here too. Um, they do everything. They'll even do down to like movies. Like they'll give a movie review. How old is your kid? But for educators, they've got some really good resources on like um, just looking at all these things and learning. It's neat, and you can become like they have a certification too. I don't have it, but I know they have it. But lots of digital citizenship, um, passports, that kind of stuff. So maybe that'll help.
But there
I
there's
don't know
some
what
there
else.
are resources that we can
Yeah,
actually access. Okay. But
yeah.
again, it's really just part of of that is really a matter of training your students kay,
Mhm.
on the basic skills, for example, citation, kay, advanced searches in Google, okay, so that they can come up no with
Mhm.
better sources for their information. Okay, for example, in the research, okay, you can always use Google Scholar. Okay, tons and tons of journals na to access via our Google Scholar. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from teacher Regina Rose Rigidor. Okay, how can technology help our learners evolve in pandemic recovery program of our country?
Um, I think here, I think something I've seen that's shifted very quickly in the States is even my face to face, um, like schools. Now, when students are absent, they're not really absent. If they stay home, if they're sick, if anything's wrong, like they're not encouraging you to send your kids to school sick. And like students have access to that work at home. So I think like on the path to recovery technology, like things like Google Classroom and all the available, have making sure students have devices at home. And I know that's still a struggle in internet, but um, I know that's a huge struggle where I am, and I think that that's going to change like just like the landscape of like being absent from school, and students who have reasons they have to miss a lot of school are now just that plane's going to get leveled, and so in a pandemic, we have so many people out taking care of family members, those kinds of things. I think technology is really helping by allowing a slide where we can people can pick the environment that's best for them now more than they ever could. Like whether you're a teacher now, you can teach online. Whether you're a student now, you can learn online. I think like pandemic recovery, um, is leading to a place where it's going to allow flexibility for people who maybe before didn't have it.
Yes, indeed, no. In our country, by the way, body, no, we're very, very slow in terms of our so far, no, into the pandemic recovery program. Okay, right now we just piloted, okay, face-to-face setup of
Okay, so I don't know that much about like your country's
yes.
program. Like, what's your plan? What's the plan?
So far there are now like piloting programs okay in for example in education okay we have piloted several classes okay already conducting face-to-face setup but the rest and majority of the students still are
Mm.
online okay
Oh,
but
cool.
I think it's a very simple my answer to this question Bon is a very simple one okay um for our learners to continue to evolve in the pandemic recovery program is for our teachers to not revert back to the usual
Yeah.
because that's going to be the danger. We are so I don't know, frustrated by the pandemic that there's might be a tendency to just go back to what it was once before. That's going to be very fatal to our students because in the 2 years time under the online learning environment our students have been exposed to different instructional design okay they also were they had acquired no several skills no and it will be fatal if you just go back to what it was once before okay so as teachers okay our goal is to take everything that we have learned okay in these 2 years of online learning okay and try to redefine our
Yeah.
instructional design using all of those things.
Yeah.
And that's going to help our
And if
students
it didn't work, take
learn,
it out for
evolve.
sure. Like, I mean, there are lots of
Correct?
things I'm
Yes.
sure people can say, "Oh, that didn't work. That was terrible." But take
Correct.
that one out. But yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting time. And like we are most of our schools are face to face, like back with it, and a lot of students and more students in virtual than ever. It's different. It's different. Um, I've got a really Nikki Laverne, I think, who was in you. She was in your innovator
I
cohort.
think
Yeah, she's so cool. She's a principal at a virtual school now, and they have a hybrid day where one day they go to the physical building and like do activities and stuff. So stuff like that, I think is so cool because they're the R of Sammer. They're redefining. So I think. it is a time where if people are paying attention, they can capitalize and make a lot of change very fast. Um, if if you're on it. So yeah, I think technology is beneficial, like I said, because with the I know we have places though, where I am. I'm in the south of the United States. I feel in Louisiana, not like the richest state or anything, and I still have we huge problem with so many kids who don't have internet access, and um some of our problems too were like kids that were at home during COVID like weren't necessarily getting fed like they should and stuff like that. So we needed them back so we can make sure like they had they were safe and fed and things like that. So it's it's been fascinating to watch. Like the return. A lot of people. I was worried people were going to go back to their old ways. Honestly, a lot of people. Google Classroom is here to stay. People are not going back to making copies if they can avoid
Yes,
it.
yes. That I think the bright spot of the pandemic, it actually hastened our I mean transfer or transition to 21st century
Mhm.
education. Okay, in a way, it forced us, okay, to get
Yeah.
into the digital space. Okay, anyway, maybe Bonnie, no, so that we can end our session. We'll just have our last question from Teacher Lord Lena. Any advice to teachers who are eager to integrate technology in their lesson, which you just mentioned, no, but less fortunate to have stable to no internet connections in their workplace?
Okay, I would like to say that, like I said, I just had to write the technology plan for the state, and one of the key changes I made, like for this, it's like the planning the next 5 years, is that and this we should start fussing at your government, is that everywhere it said like 1-to-1 student device ratio or 1-to-1 like internet, I made sure it said teacher and student because I was and I can't really necessarily go around the state and fire people, but now like all the guidance, and I think we need to change that like at the highest level. No longer is the guidance just 1-to-1 for students. It's 1-to-1 for everybody. Anyway, sorry, it's a rant. But I would think having a lot of like asynchronous options would be good for like people if you're having internet connections or it's unstable. Having those, so you still want to like record yourself if you can, and maybe post those online and those kind of things. But having asynchronous options where you're still connecting, or Jamboard where you're still communicating. Maybe not you're not all in the same time, because that was a huge problem too. We learned about COVID, right? I had so many friends had to go buy expensive laptops because they were teaching online. They had okay computer, but then now they weren't ready to like have a Google Meetup and do a Nearpod and be doing all these things already. So I think having like asynchronous options, and things you don't have to be live for. It's probably your best bet for that situation.
Correct. I agree with that, Bonnie, no? On having asynchronous options, okay, for technology use. No, it doesn't always need to be like online. I mean, in a video conference, okay, or in a synchronous session, which eats up, no, and requires um, large bandwidth, no, to be able to operate. Okay. And I think ano no, Bonnie, it is where the concept of ADI would actually come in. Because
Mhm.
the ADI model, no, asks you to analyze first what you have. Okay. What do you want to do and what do you intend to do? Okay.
Yep.
So given that you have problems with your connection, then maybe, okay, you're not supposed to use as many tools, no, or as aggressively the different tools for technology integration. Okay, so it actually always begins with using or making use or have or like having like an audit of what you have, no, or what resources you have access with, because there's really no point on pursuing technology integration if the resources are not accessible by the teachers, neither they are accessible by your students. So what's the point of the technology integration?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's always work with that. And but don't be discouraged, okay? Because even if we have very little resources, okay, technology integration is not about the how frequent, okay, or how many tools that you're using. Okay, it could be body for what we know. It can only be like I'll use this tech tool maybe once a week, okay, or twice a month, okay, in one
Mhm.
of my lessons, okay, or twice or thrice within my unit lesson, okay. Does that make me a better teacher? I think so. Does that make me an technology integrator? I think so as well. Okay. So don't be disheartened, teachers, no, by frequency and by the number of tools that you're using. Okay, it's not about that. Okay, as long as technology leverage the learning experience. Okay,
Yep.
it you've done your job. Then you are okay, able to use technology.
But yeah, I think and like you said, it doesn't have to be a live lesson to be successful for sure. So I
Yes.
yeah, I think that's a really really valid point.
Yeah, because there's that pressure, no, that the more technology I use, that I'm better than the other, or if I
No,
use
that's
less
not true.
technology, that I'm a lesser teacher. The teachers, you are not
Not the case.
defined by the technology. Okay, you are
Mhm.
defined by, of course, no, the learning outcomes. Okay, and if the instructional design actually works to what it intends to do, no, which is to learn the skills and to learn the content. Okay, so don't get
Completely.
disheartened. Yes.
Could not
Okay.
that like yeah, I think that needs to like that could be you need to get that printed by Canva because for sure people yeah, like using technology is not a measure of your worth, you know,
Yes.
at all. And yeah,
Yeah.
how much you use it, that kind of stuff. Don't take that to heart.
At the end of the day, those are tools, okay, and
Yeah.
precisely tools, okay,
Mhm.
for what it really means.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Bonnie, thank you so much, okay, for this very engaging
Thank you for
discussion, okay, and
having
I
me.
always love having you here and having this like conversation. I think we should do something more of like this, okay, like an open discussion. Really,
Exactly,
no
because I was like,
presentation.
"I have 2 hours to talk," and I was so glad when you just came on. I was like, "Let's just talk about," because yeah,
Yes.
I'm always good for
I
talking
think
for 2 hours. But no,
teachers,
thank you.
let us know, teachers, know if this kind of format actually works for you. We can do actually more of this
I
kind of
love
like an
this.
open discussion. Let's just like talk whatever we have in mind, and a free flowing discussion. Okay, let me
This
know.
is
We can
this
do
is what
more of
me
this.
and, Stephanie Rothstein do all the time.
I think
So
that's actually good, no, because it's a very flexible kind of discussion. It allows us to address
mhm,
the concerns of
mhm.
our teachers or our audience directly. Okay. Anyway, of course, Bonnie, we would not let you go, no, without appreciating your times you've spent with us. Okay, and sharing your expertise. Now, I know again it's 4 a.m. there. I think 5 a.m. Okay, but you're still here, and we're so thankful. No, always thankful for supporting, okay, our community. Okay,
No, I was
but
glad you too. I
of
like
course,
it.
I'd like to still present this certificate of appreciation. Okay, the certificate of appreciation is respectfully awarded to Bonnie Shillette, okay, for sharing her knowledge, okay, and expertise and time in the recently conducted webinar entitled "Impactful Technology Use and Models of Technology Integration." Okay, that awarded on November 11, 2021, and to be signed by your administrators, Joseph Angelo Santos, Paula May Mendoza, Angelo Malyari, and Franco Nicolopi Adu. Okay, once
Ah,
again, maraming in Filipino, Bonnie, maraming salamat.
oh, I'm so flattered to be here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This is wonderful.
Yan, so teachers, let's send our thanks to Bonnie in the chat so that she feels the warmth of the Filipino
Right,
love, no,
right.
in the chat. Bonnie, maybe before I let you go, no, and so you could finally have your much needed and much deserved sleep, is I'd like to ask for a short message for our teachers as we continue and might be back to face to face by next year.
Um, I okay, so we like I said, we went from I think some of our areas are similar to the Philippines, but we went back face to face, and it's scary at first, for real. It's scary, and it gets very intense. Like teachers, make sure you're in your right mindset to be there, and administrators need to really really focus on supporting those teachers. But it's doable, and it's going to be great. It just takes a second. It's a readjustment, but it's totally doable. And it's going to be great. And one day you're going to be looking around and you're like, I did it. How did I do it? I don't know, but I did it because everybody has, and through all this, has done so much and accomplished so much with so little. So it's really cool. I think looking back, I think there will be so many good books written about this time in education, because I think what we're watching, like history being made, and you guys take notes when you're returning because you're writing the book for the next generation of teachers.
Yes, indeed. Okay, this is a precedent, okay, in so many ways, okay,
But
to the
going
coming
back is
generation.
it's scary and there's an edge to it. I feel like people are stressed. So take care of yourself, take care of your neighbor. But it's gonna end up being great.
Yeah, and thank you once again, Bonnie, and we'll now say goodbye. And again, we
Oh,
wish to
thank
see
you
you
so much.
again. There's a request to have you once a month at KTS. We'll
I would
try to
love to.
arrange that. Given
See,
your schedule, maybe we can do.
I just set an alarm for really early. I woke up.
Yes.
I went to sleep.
Thank
But
you,
yeah, no,
Bonnie. And see you once again here at KTS.
all right. Thank you.
Okay, so teachers, na maraming salamat for joining us in this afternoon session. Okay, and our fifth installment, okay, of our November series. No? So before I turn you over to our evaluation link for your certificates, okay, please mark your calendars. Okay, on Saturday, okay, we'll be talking, no, or will be having a session on revisiting Bloom's taxonomy and Maslow's hierarchy of needs in the 21st century, no, to be facilitated and moderated by yours truly and the rest of the administrators of Kaagapay Teacher Support. Okay, so we'll see you all there. Okay. This will definitely be an interesting discussion. Okay. Have we updated Bloom's taxonomy? Okay. And in this given context right now, how does the Maslow's hierarchy of needs actually get into the picture of education? Okay. So we will, and hopefully teachers know, see you on Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Okay, here at KTS once again. Okay, so again, pakimark na po yung calendar natin, November 13. Okay, so now, here's your evaluation link. Okay, can you please do check if it's actually working and that you can see the evaluation? Yeah, indeed, no, Teacher Elvira Santa Maria, no, mabuhay ang mga gurong Pilipino, no, okay? Sa dami po ng pinagdaanan natin, no, talagang kulang ang 6 na printers, okay? Or 10 printers na ipinapadala namin, ano, okay? For the different for the teachers and the schools, okay? But we'll still be here, teachers, no. I think we might not be able to send all the printers or all the things that we need, okay? But at the very least, no, you should we ensure you that we'll just be here. Okay? Nandito lang po kami at patuloy na gagabay at magiging kaagapay ninyo pong lahat. Okay? So yan, teachers, paki-confirm lang po if you can access the evaluation link right now. Ay, sorry pala, mali pala yung ano natin. Okay, for a while. I think mali yung link natin. Let me see. We'll just check our okay. Teachers, can someone let me know if the link is working before I end the session? It's working, okay. Nagkamali lang pala ako na pangalan ng link natin. No? P2 pa yung nilagay ko. It's already P5. Okay. Anyway, thank you, teachers, and maraming salamat for being with us, no, in this session. Okay. So I'll see you on Saturday. Wag po kayo mawala, no. We hope to see you all there on Saturday. Okay, paalam po. Have a great afternoon, no? Have a great dinner, teachers.